Good Wednesday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for April the 17th. Today we are reading together the 47th Psalm. Psalm number 47 is described as God our King in my translation by the translators. What we have supplied for us in the manuscript is that it is for the choir director, a psalm of the sons of Korah. We're not told the occasion that seems to have prompted this psalm. Some speculate that maybe this occasion was whenever David brought the ark into Jerusalem, into the city of David. Others speculate that this might have been a psalm that was written and it was, I guess, sung or performed when a king was ascended to the throne. We're just not exactly sure, although certainly the contents of this psalm could fit with any of those occasions or for those that we might not think of. But let me pull up the text here of Psalm 47. I'll read along together. One person called this psalm a noisy psalm. See if you might catch why that is the case as we read together here. Psalm 47. God our King, for the choir director, a psalm of the sons of Korah. Clap your hands, all you peoples, shout to God with a jubilant cry. For Yahweh, the Most High, is awe-inspiring, a great king over the whole earth. He subdues peoples under us and nations under our feet. He chooses for us our inheritance, the pride of Jacob, whom he loves. Selah. God ascends among shouts of joy, Yahweh with the sound of a ram's horn. Sing praises to God, sing praise. Sing praise to our King, sing praise. Sing a song of wisdom, for God is King of the whole earth. God reigns over the nations. God is seated on his holy throne. The nobles of the people have assembled with the people of the God of Abraham. For the leaders of the earth belong to God. He is greatly exalted. Psalm number 47. Do you get why someone has referred to this psalm as a noisy psalm? As we think about this psalm, it is fitting that it has been placed following Psalm 46, because if you remember, Psalm 46 talks about David being in his holy city of Jerusalem. It is a psalm of confidence. Jerusalem is protected by God because of the people's faith, and he has great victory. Specifically, at the end of the psalm, Psalm 46, verse number 8, "Come see the works of Yahweh, who brings devastation on the earth. He makes wars cease throughout the earth. He shatters bows and cuts spears to pieces. He sets wagons ablaze. Stop your fighting and know that I am God, exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth. Yahweh of armies is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold." That's Psalm 46 and verses 8 through 11. Again, the subject matter of the end of the psalm is that God is victorious over the nations of the earth, that they do not have any power over him. Therefore, again, it makes sense to follow up that reality with this call for praise for the King Yahweh. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but I would classify this psalm with a couple of classifications, one being a praise psalm and another one being a royal psalm, a praise psalm and a royal psalm. Again, it's fitting to follow up Psalm 46 because it follows up Yahweh's great victory as is described in Psalm 46. So because of Yahweh's power and might that is seen over the nations, now you nations, you need to submit, but you actually need to celebrate. That's the idea here. Is this is not something that is forced, but this is something that it should be natural for them to do. They should naturally clap their hands and shout to God with a jubilant cry. For what reason? Well, because he's the best. That's really a very simplistic way of saying it. Yahweh is the best. He is the greatest. He is the great king over the whole earth. So that emphasis is seen there in the first two verses. It's focused on all the peoples. It's focused on the whole earth. Because why? Because he subdues peoples under us. Who's the us? Well, that would be his people of Israel, and nations under our feet. Well, who is that? Well, that is, again, Israel, his people. He chooses for us, or he chooses for us our inheritance, the pride of Jacob, whom he loves. I think that might be in reference to the promised land. And think, where did the promised land come from? Well, it had been inherited by the nations, or excuse me, I should say, it had been inhabited by the nations. And Yahweh endowed his people with the strength to go in and to take the land from the nations, which again is a sign of Yahweh's power and might over those nations. So here in these first few verses, we recognize that when Yahweh is acknowledged as the king, the only appropriate response, the only proper response is praise. So we see that in verses, we see it in verse 1, where it's on the front end, clap your hands, shout to God with jubilant cry. The reasoning is verses 2, 3, and 4 for what he has done. Verses 5, 6, and 7 kind of continue that, the fact that God ascends among the shouts of joy. Yahweh with the sound of trumpets, sing praise to God, sing praise to our King, sing praise, sing a song of wisdom, for God is King of the, notice this, whole earth, not just Israel, but the whole earth. It's interesting that verse number 7, sing a song of wisdom. That's actually the Hebrew word maskil, which is used as a descriptor for a number of the Psalms that are found within the text. One of those particular Psalms that we have recently read was Psalm 45. It is a maskil of the sons of Korah. We also see that in Psalm 42, that it too is a maskil of the sons of Korah. So that gives us the idea that a maskil, again, is wise instruction, a psalm that wisely instructs those who are reading it. Did you notice the noise again within the psalm? Clap your hands, verse 1, shout to God with a jubilant cry, verse 1 as well. Verse 5, shouts of joy. Verse 5, 2, the sound of trumpets. Verse 6, 4 times we were told to sing praise. Verse 7, sing a song of wisdom, for God is the King of the whole earth. I think we see again why this is described as a noisy psalm. Verses 8 and 9, God reigns over the nations. God is seated on his holy throne. Again, those are ideas of power and authority. This is might that Yahweh is seen to have. Again, notice the emphasis here, over the nations. Verse number 9, the nobles of the peoples have assembled with the people of the God of Abraham. So the nations have assembled with Israel. For the leaders of the earth, not just Israel, but the leaders of the earth belong to God. He is greatly exalted. Notice the superior language that is used here to describe Yahweh. Look in verse number 2. For Yahweh, the Most High, is awe-inspiring, or is to be feared. Verse number 6, God ascends among the shouts of joy. The end of verse number 9, or verse number 8 too, God reigns over the nations. The end of verse number 9, he is greatly exalted. He is greatly exalted. The whole idea of this psalm, very simply, is that God is worthy of praise because he is the king seated in the most superior position that is imaginable. Whenever we think about the hierarchy of reality, he is alone at the top. And this is something that, again, the only appropriate response to this is praise. It's no good to try to disparage Yahweh in this position. It's not going to change. There's no reason to be upset over this position, over this reality, because again, it's not going to change. And anyways, if we do those things, then we do not get to enjoy the blessings of God being in this position. So it is only appropriate then for Yahweh, being the God over not just Israel, but also over the nations, for us to rejoice over this and for us to sing praise, especially as is emphasized in verse number 6. But ultimately, whenever we think about Psalm 47, this is very messianic in nature, I would say, because this is ultimately fulfilled and seen in Jesus. I think about Philippians chapter 2 as a text that really spells this out very clearly and very well for us. Philippians chapter 2 speaks about the humility of Jesus, how he was willing to condescend himself to come into this world. But in doing so, he has positioned himself to be, again, highly exalted by God. And in fact, there's a song that we have not, I don't believe we sing in Loudon, but I've sung elsewhere. That is a beautiful song, and that really emphasizes a lot of the things that we are talking about in Psalm 47, and is also seen here in this text of Philippians chapter 2. Again, this is a text where we focus on it because it teaches us about humility, that we need to have the same attitude that was in Jesus, that we need to adopt the same attitude as that of Christ Jesus. Philippians chapter 2 and verse number 5, who existing in the form of God, did not consider equality with God as something to be exploited. Instead, he emptied himself by assuming the form of a servant, taking on the likeness of humanity. And when he had come as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even to death on a cross. Notice this, verse number 9. For this reason, because of Jesus' humility, because of Jesus' love, because of his willing to submit himself in every way to the Father, for this reason, God highly exalted him and gave him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue, which means all the nations, including Israel, every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Psalm 47 certainly is true from the perspective of Israel within the times of the Old Testament, that Yahweh is king over the entire earth. But again, let me suggest to you that ultimately this is going to be seen in Jesus, that he is the ultimate fulfillment of these truths that are found here, that he draws not just his people of Israel, but he draws the entirety of the world, the whole earth, all the nations to himself in the person of Jesus, in his lordship, in his kingship. And from him being as king, all blessings flow. And for him being king, the only proper response for us, for Israel, for all nations again, is to sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, and sing praise. If you have any questions or comments about Psalm 47, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I appreciate you take some time to read along with me today on this fine Wednesday. We'll be gathering together tonight for our Bible study at 7 p.m. We'll have Bible classes for all ages, and in the auditorium, we'll be continuing our study, our walk through Romans 9, 10, and 11. We'll be picking up a few verses into I got Psalms on the mind, obviously, into Romans chapter 10 tonight, as we talk about faith and salvation that comes through belief and faith in Jesus. We'll be talking about that tonight. Romans chapter 10, I think we're going to pick up about verses 3 or 4 is where we'll pick up tonight, and looking forward to continuing our study with those involved in that class. Again, have a great rest of your Wednesday. May God bless you in all that you do. Hope you'll tune in again on Friday, May 19th, as we read together Psalm 48, which speaks of Zion being exalted. Looking forward to reading that with you then. Take care, and God bless.